Everyone. Welcome to week 2 for the second tool that we're going to learn in this sequence here called the BTEA. It stands for belief, thoughts, emotions, and actions. So the way that we use this tool is we find it that so the purpose of the tool is to help you in understanding the chain reaction of events that takes place when you have a painful thought or you're triggered or when a belief is activated. It's important to keep in mind that this cycle can refeed itself at any time, but can also be disrupted. This is where we get to take our power back again at any point in the belief, thoughts, emotions, or action stages in order to produce a new outcome. So in your discovery, this is where we get to be curious and most importantly, compassionate. So in your discovery, you're going to answer the questions below and write out some of the BTEA patterns that you tend to follow when you're triggered. So what are the negative emotional patterns? Refer to your emotion wheels, both the emotion wheel and the emotion behavior wheel. And then what are the thought patterns that accompany these? What core beliefs are they related to? What coping mechanisms, which is the action part, do you turn to when you feel triggered? Like, do you start to binge eat, et cetera, et cetera? So this is your list down here on the second page. This is your list of core negative beliefs or core wounds. That's what we're talking about with beliefs and sometimes negative thoughts. So when you're answering these questions, these are really powerful insights into your subconscious mind programming. And you can reprogram these at any level again, at the belief, thought, emotion, or action level. You can also use cognitive reframes, like in the first lesson, emotional processing tool, that most generous interpretation, like, okay, what are 3 other options to this story for thoughts? And then in your belief reprogramming, and then also you can teach yourself somatic processing, which we'll get into a later cohort in the next couple of weeks about how to somatically process your emotions. But just know that that's there and you can plug that in after we learn about that. Or exposure work for actions. And that's another thing we'll learn later on. But just as an example of how to do this. So we're looking at what was the triggering event? What were my beliefs about the situation? What was I thinking about my beliefs and maybe about the triggering, and why was this event triggering? What were my emotions about it and actions? So many times when we're triggered, the easiest way to walk through this entire tool is to start with the actions. So for example, I have this scenario written out. So I left the party without even saying goodbye to anyone. So that was my action. I actually got up and left. What was I feeling? So you step back to the emotions. I was feeling nervous, anxious, sad, and lonely. Well, what were my thoughts about that? Nobody wanted to talk to me and I was ignored at the party. So before I even got to the party, I think back and I'm like, well, I drove all the way to the party thinking that I am unwanted. That's my negative core belief and core wound down there on the second page. And that nobody likes me. I'm disliked. So those are 2 really powerful, painful core wounds. So then I think back like, well, geez, I don't even really know what happened. But then I remember, oh, Jill, the one person that I knew at the party, um, she didn't approach me and she didn't greet me. So I didn't feel very welcome from the get-go. And that just kind of left my wheels turning to reinforce the belief action of I am unwanted and nobody likes me or I am disliked. It made me think that nobody at the party wanted to talk to me and everyone at the party was ignoring me. And then you step back through like, of course I would feel anxious. This is where we get to be compassionate. Of course I would feel nervous, anxious, sad, and lonely. If that's what I was doing, and then it was a self-fulfilling prophecy where I just chose not to talk to anybody else or even interact with anyone else. And naturally, I would want to leave that if that's everything that I believed and that's what I was feeling. So everyone, remember, the brain wants to eliminate all pain and only seek pleasure, and it will get its needs met in the quickest way possible. So I also want to review and minimize this here. When you're looking at the emotion wheel, okay, so going through this particular story, we're going to go with sad. Remember, the emotions were nervous, anxious, sad, and lonely. So sad. And I looked through this like, okay, I know I was sad, pathetic, giving up, not caring. Sure, that could fit. I was really feeling despair, and so I decided to shut down. So remember how we use the emotion wheel? We go across here. Well, sadness was just covering up fear. Okay, that's curious. What was I afraid of? Like, what? Okay, powerless, giving up or acting out. No, inferior. I was trying to fit in. Sure. If I don't feel like I'm liked or I'm disliked or unwanted, I'm going to try to fit in. But oh, this one fits the best. Unwanted, and so I wanted to isolate. Therefore, I left. So you see how those two play together. Well, now we understand that we want to do happy. Like, geez, I really want to be able to attend a party and get rid of these core beliefs, which we will work on core wound reprogramming, where this isn't even a trigger for you anymore. But initially, we need to start understanding what our patterns are. So that's the purpose of this exercise. So I wanted to feel happy. How could I have felt happy in this situation? Joy, being cheerful. Well, I was none of those things. I mean, that'd be a really great goal. But here's the deal. Like, what is a way that I could try to, I could be optimistic when I was driving to the party in my car. And I could actually seek solutions being like, you know what? I'm not going to believe that. And I'm going to choose to go and talk to at least one person and see how responsive they are so that I can go against that negative thought and be like, you know what? My thoughts of 100% being true, that I am always disliked, that I am completely unwanted, are not true because this person actually spoke to me and engaged with me in this conversation. So that gives my brain a little power to be rewired in a very positive way. I think, okay, there's one piece of evidence. That's one piece of evidence that I am liked and that I was wanted. And then that will give you the courage later on and empower you to go try it again, or try it again just in a few minutes with maybe a different person, or go approach that other person. And we can use these tools in conjunction when we go through belief, thoughts, emotions, actions. What was my triggering event? Oh, Jill at the party, the one person I did know, didn't come up and talk to me, and she didn't even greet me. Like, she must not have even wanted me there. That was the negative belief. Well, maybe once I talked to Pam and I had that positive experience, I can actually take the initiative and go talk to Jill and find out that she was really worried. She had just gotten a phone call. Like, what are three other options to that story? Now you can start pairing the two tools together. Maybe she was distracted. Maybe she didn't see me come in. What are different versions of that story? And then I can be courageous enough to go get my need met for being seen and wanted and liked by Jill, by going up and say, "Hey, Jill, how are you doing? Oh, I'm so glad you met me. I'm so glad that you approached me. It's so good to see you." That empowers you to actually flip the narrative and retell the stories in a more positive light, which will rewire your brain and get you moving in the direction that you want to go towards happy. Thank you, everyone.